So, Brian, I might also ask you, looking at this, right now, 220 homes went pending and 179 came on the market. Everyone always says it's not a good time in the winter to sell a house, but is it a good time to sell in the winter?
Man, it's the best time in the winter. I mean, that's when you get at the end of the year that people really need to buy something. It feels like all the inventory that doesn't move moves in the winter. I mean, it really does.
Right now, we are experiencing homes selling quicker for more money and at a higher price ratio. So people are getting what they asked sooner. And that has just been the trend. And so as we look into 2022, it's hard for us to say the trend will be any different because rates are staying low, buyers are coming in, and inventory levels are remaining the same, and they're not increasing. Well, welcome everybody to this month's stat meeting. We're going to talk about the market and what's happening out there with homes and the prices and how it's affected by interest rates and how many homes are selling and, you know, how long it's going to take if you decide to sell your house, and what goes into it and what kind of competition are you going to have? Is there buyers still happening? And so let's start right off. We're going to talk a little bit about the whole year, years previous, and the month of December. So as we cover each of these slides, we're going to be able to see the past, present, and hopefully be able to kind of look into the coming months and what the near future will have in store for us. So we're talking here about Bonneville, Bingham, Jefferson counties. And in the month of December for 2021, we sold 237 houses altogether. In 2020, there was just 232 houses that sold in that month. So we did see a bit of an increase in the month of December. Here are the price points that we wanted to talk about. If you look, the majority of those homes in the three counties combined, 178 of those houses were below the $500,000 mark.
And that's a new ratio. I mean, this is getting bigger and bigger on that lower under 500. It seems like every month building.
December is one of the few months this year where we've actually sold more than the previous year. We've usually been trailing a little bit. But yeah, we're definitely seeing the market. The market's definitely saying they want to stay under 500,000.
Oh, that's an interesting point. So yeah, so the majority of those happening under 500,000. But there are still homes that are creeping over that point, and we'll see with a few of the other stats, the days on market with those higher end homes. Year to date, the market overview. So the whole year of 2021, there was 2,929 homes sold, but the year previous, there were 3,227. So you can see that there's a decrease in total homes sold for the entire year. 2021 looks a little more like 2019, where we were at 2,951, and 2018 and 2017 were real similar. So 2020 was a bigger year compared to all the other years in the last 4 or 5 years. But this year we're just seeing such a big demand and the buyers have increased, but the number of transactions is not necessarily following that. So
buyers have increased, but the number of transactions is not necessarily following that. So
still seeing a bit of a compression and a squeeze on the inventory because there's just not enough homes available.
We're averaging about 3,000 homes a year.
Yeah.
And so I mean, the average is pretty consistent. I mean, we're trending to have pretty similar years. So
that's interesting to say, Chad, because it's whenever it thinks like, oh my word, there's so many more people. There's so many, but really, I mean, back from 2017, pretty consistent.
Yeah, because the people aren't coming with homes. We have to have them here. So,
yeah.
Really good point, Chad.
I got 2 of those so far. So yeah, nice.
That's excellent. So for the team, the year to date, so in 2021, we did 323 total transactions. So we helped 323 different groups of people get into their home or sell their home. So we want to thank everybody for that. And 2021 was great. 2022 will be even better. So here's the December market overview just for the average price. In 2020, we saw an increase of activity and more homes sold, but the average price was $332, $314. In 2021, just for that 1 month of December, it was $400,000, 21% increase in the price. So that it's crazy that the buyers are more than the inventory, and we're still seeing the price increase because there's just not enough homes for people to buy, and the demand outweighs the inventory. So let's go to that next slide and show
This one blows my mind.
For the full year instead of just month over month, year over year. This is the whole year where the average price of the market increased from $291 to $380. But if you go back to 2017, which is a very interesting stat, isn't it? We were at 193 in our market just 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 or 5 years.
You know what I find interesting is even though that average price goes up, as I've read about national prices, we are still one of the cheapest places to live. It's more expensive houses. The average price are higher in Utah. They're higher in Nevada. They're higher in Washington. They're higher in Oregon. So even though everyone keeps saying, holy moly, prices are just crazy and I can't afford to live here, it's still one of the cheapest places in the West to live.
You know, Nicole, it's interesting. I saw a realtor post something online in Missoula. They're something like 480 average price point. That's just 3 hours from us.
Wow.
Colorado's high too.
No.
Yeah, and really new builds are part of the reason that home prices go up, right? When it costs more money to build a house, the existing inventory, will increase with new builds. And so throughout the country, we're all experiencing higher prices to build, right? And so we are following that trend as well with new construction and existing homes. And no matter what the location is, the new construction is increasing as well and pulling prices up. But over that, what's the percentage of that, Jessica, on that slide? The year
96%. 96% from 2017 to 2021.
It's crazy.
But what's even more interesting, Jeremy, is when you add the December, because that's the whole year to date, right? Now throw the fact that we're at over 400 in December and thinking about that average sale price. Banana boats.
Yeah.
And I mean, just kind of on that note, what investments, aside from real estate, are you seeing those kind of returns in 4 to 5 years? Like that is
not many things that are legal.
Well, we don't talk about that one, Chad. We don't talk about that.
Or secure, right?
Yeah, or secure.
Or can you insure it, right? You can insure that this asset. Yes.
Yeah, that's great point. And it will pay a dividend with your cash flow if you do decide to rent it out.
That's right. And
the tax benefits of owning property, and there's a lot. That's another video. Let's talk about when you list your house for sale, right? In 2020, if you listed your home to sell for $101,000, or $100,000, you would have gotten $101,150. In 2022, just in that 1 month of December, we saw that just basically go for what you listed it at, right? But the year to date tells a better story, because if we just look at that one slice, it'll look like December, hurt the whole year,
or prices are going backwards.
They're going backwards, correct. But the year to date for the whole year, the list to sold price actually increased 1.69% to 101.69% from 100 for the year before. And so if you look at that, it looks like we're seeing more demand in 2021 because the inventory levels were a little bit less than 2020.
Jeremy, when I look at this slide, I also feel like it's interesting when buyers talk about, I want to come in and offer low. Even if you go back 5 years, it was still only 1.2% on average below the price they listed it at. that they were closing. So it's still, even 5 years ago, it very rarely is a market of go low and we're going to get a deal. It's just not, it happens one off, but you've got to wait for quite a while and have a seller who is shooting for the moon.
Yeah, great point. So in 2017, it was 98.82, right? And the price was 190. So we're seeing that over time, it doesn't help, or it doesn't do us any good to wait. So do you think it's going to decrease back down to 2017 percentages in prices, or do you guys think prices are going to continue to go up if we had to take a look?
Definitely think prices are going to continue to, hike up a bit. I mean, it's all going to be at least very heavily influenced on interest rates, which I know we're probably going to talk about later in the video, but I don't see them going the other direction.
It's a good point, Grayson. And I think we will talk about interest rates a little bit later, but I mean, to your point, I do believe home prices are going to continue to go up, and we have to keep in mind that the cost to borrow money right now is still at an all-time low. Even though there has been a little bit of an adjustment up, it's still at an all-time low. And so I can go into that a little bit further as we get into these slides, but just keep that in mind as we're looking at these prices go up. The amount to borrow money is still extremely low.
I know, exactly. Like I think we were talking about this morning. I mean, look at us complaining at an interest rate of like 3.5, but you'd kill for 3.5.
And we're selling quicker in 2021. In December last year, we were 34 days on average to sell your home. 2021 is 27 days. So we saw a little decrease there. In the year to date for that, when 2022 or 2021 is 22 days. And in 2020, it was 34 days. But you see in the years previous, it was more. So right now we are experiencing homes selling quicker for more money and at a higher price ratio. So people are getting what they asked sooner. And that has just been the trend. And so as we look into 2022, it's hard for us to say the trend will be any different because rates are staying low, buyers are coming in, and inventory levels are remaining the same, and they're not increasing. And it will take some sort of unknown to really change that. And we don't see anything in the market or the economy that could create that sort of change in our market. So,
and Jeremy, just to comment on that real quick. So in 2017, if we're looking back at the kind of historical data of mortgage interest rates, in 2017, we were at an average of 3.99%. Moving forward to 2018, we do see a decrease in average days in market, but we see an increase in rate to 4.5%. So almost a 0.5% increase from 2017 to 2018, but a decrease in average days on market. So I just think it's really interesting to see that increase in rate, but still a decrease in days on market. And I think that's what we're going to be seeing this year as we move into 2022.
That's great. We'd like to hear that specific type of change in the market. So if we're 2017 going into 18, rates did go up 0.5%, and it still did not affect days on market. Things still sold.
Exactly.
I think what that's telling us is having the inventory continually decrease year over year is really the main reason for prices. I mean, interest rates play a part, but the lower inventory is the bigger part here.
Just basic supply and demand, right? I mean, that's the biggest difference between now and 2007 is there were, hundreds and hundreds of homes available, and we're still in a low market. So it's the main indicator of that we're not coming down.
All right, so we kind of created here some little snapshots by county. A lot of our stats are based upon having together Bingham County, Bonneville, and Jefferson. And we wanted to give you kind of a county by county snapshot of how things are doing. And you'll find that there's a lot of similarities between all the counties. And so anyways, you look at homes, in Bonneville County, we did sell a few less homes than we did in 2020, down about 12.7%. Average sales price, though, here's the consistent number we're going to see with all three counties. Actually, most of these stats are pretty similar between all three counties, but we're seeing about a 30.4% increase in price, going from $290 to $378. No surprise, days on market is down considerably from 31 to 20. We're seeing homes are selling for more. So list to sold price is higher. Inventory of homes, we're sitting about 80. As we move on to Jefferson County.
And on this, Chad, we dropped again below 100. That's all. It seems like it's a killer. We know when we drop below 100, it's tight.
Gonna make, so I mean, that's a predictor saying, hey, the spring might be crazy again. We're going to see multiple offers. Multiple offers is not going to go away for 2022 from what we can see right now. So as far as Jefferson County goes, about as close as you can get to the same amount of homes in 2021 versus 2020. And average sales price, above 30%, just like with Bonneville County. They went up 31.1% in price.
Now, this is interesting, Chad. This is at 428, and Bonneville County was under 400. So, out in Jefferson, you're getting a little bit of land, getting a little more, getting on the river.
And for many years, you are paying more. I mean, this isn't just a 2020 thing, but Jefferson County's been higher average sales price over Bonneville County for many years. So average days on market also decreasing. Again, a big indication of just, really low inventory. List to sold price is increasing as well. I mean, you're going to be paying more than, full price. But here's an interesting stat with all of these counties. As much as we saw, homes going 40,000 over, 30,000 over, multiple offers, overall year to date for the whole year, it was only about 101.13% over list price. And so you have to, that's an interesting stat. So it wasn't 140, wasn't 130, it was only 101% over list price. And their inventory is super low. I mean, there's 25 homes in Jefferson County. So
in all price ranges.
So if you're in a price range and there's only 3 homes, well, that's probably going to be the future for a while.
And that might drive your price up. If there's only 3 homes and everyone's competing for those, that drives that Jefferson County price up.
That's right. Yep. Let's take a look here at Bingham County. We're going to see more of the same. So again, they sold a few less homes than they did in 2020. But again, about as close as you can get. They're just a little under 30% on their price increase. They're at 27.3%, still a really, really high increase. I mean, we're talking not high in the state, we're talking high in the country. Not many countries have 27 to 30% increases year over year on average sales price.
Yeah.
Days on market also decreased considerably. We saw, pretty healthy increase in list price to sold price. So they are also, having to go over full price. A little bit more in inventory. Again, Bingham County covers Blackfoot, it covers Snake River area, covers Shelley, covers Firth. So it covers a pretty big area, of different little communities, but there's only 33 homes. So pretty crazy. So let's take a look here at the snapshot of December and kind of look when we combine these 3 counties. 179 homes did come on the market. 221 homes went pending. So again, we are pending more than are coming new on the market. Luckily, we have that inventory, which is padding us a little bit. And we're seeing this number consistently. And it's important to know that 18.5% or 41 families or 41 homeowners that put their home on the market that were pending, they came back on the market after pending. So we're seeing about 1 in 5 homes that are basically coming back on the market when an offer comes in. So that's something to be aware of.
And that's an emotional roller coaster. That is, to think your house is going to go and to know that this market is so hot, and then to have your home, the deal fall apart at some point and it come back active again. That's an emotional roller coaster.
That's an emotional roller coaster for sure.
And Brian, what happens when it comes back on market? Do you get that same activity? Do you get that same?
I mean, it just depends on how you want to approach it again. Some people have to hit it really quick. And if you put it live the next day, it doesn't feel like you get that traction. We had success recently with just pulling it from the market and putting it back on a week later. And we had that hot traction all over again. So it just depends. Yeah. I mean, that emotional roller coaster is crazy because it's, like Chad said, you expect your home to sell. This market's hot, hot, hot. And it's like, how did our home fall out? Sometimes it's just, there's nothing to it, right? It just didn't work out. Nothing wrong with the house.
What's important, right, is what you do, Brian, in really knowing how to separate one offer from another, and why it's important to get multiple offers. A lot of sellers say, well, I'll list my house. If I get one offer, I don't need 10 offers. Well, what if that is the only offer you do get and it falls through and you have no other options? If you have 5 offers, you're able to pick the one with best terms, and you as a professional know what best terms look like and what the lowest chance for a termination is based on those terms.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes I've seen many sellers pick a lower price for better terms, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me the one that will close and I will take $5,000 less. That happens all the time. So it's not always about the highest.
Right. It makes no difference if it's high, if it's not going to close in the first place, right?
Right.
Brian, on this,
now the higher the offer, you almost get some more red flags. It's like, okay, what? Because some people will go really high with zero commitment to the house, and that's a little bit dangerous.
I always tell those buyers, you've got to pay for risk. The seller wants to be compensated for the risk of your offer. If you have a house to sell, if you've got not very much down payment, if you don't have your financing in order, or you want to do a whole bunch of inspections and want to take your time, you pay for that risk the seller takes. You can come in a little lower if you come in solid and clean and simple.
Yeah, no, I can't. Clean offer or bust, right? Price is just come ahead asking, but make sure it's a clean offer.
Yeah.
So Brian, I might also ask you, looking at this right now, 220 homes went pending and 179 came on the market. Everyone always says it's not a good time in the winter to sell a house, but is it a good time to sell in the winter?
Man, it's the best time in the winter. That's when you get at the end of the year that people really need to buy something. It feels like all the inventory that doesn't move moves in the winter. It really does.
So a snapshot of 2021, this is overall the whole year. 3,436 homes came on the market. Of those, 3,155 went pending. But again, we see month by month, or whether it's year by year, 17%, 18%. But in this case, for 2021, 17% of the homes that went pending came back on the market. So again, we're seeing that kind of 1 in 5 homes are going to do that. So let's take a look at inventory. So we currently have in our area 148 homes on the market. Last month we had 190, so we dropped considerably, which helped us, having that lower inventory for Brian helped us, we sold some listings, that were sitting on there. Again,
so Chad, interesting.
December.
If we think back at the stats, but the number of closings in December went up this December over last December. Mm-hmm. So we're down on inventory, but the number of closings went up. So there you go. Tight market again, right there. Prices.
Yep. And we're still in the weeks or days counting for absorption rate. We want to be in the months, but we're in the weeks and days. So 2.5 weeks of inventory for our little region here from Bonneville, Bingham and Jefferson County.
Anybody want to explain what that absorption or those weeks are? Any of our agents, for those watching for learning purposes?
If no new homes hit the market, that is the time frame it would take for us to be out of homes.
Exactly right.
Yep. And we, for a good seller's market, we want to be anywhere from 1 to 5 or 6 months, and we are less than 1 month. Here's a breakdown of basically our inventory, where we're sitting right now, and we have this one's evened out a little bit more because we're talking actives. And so we have a lot of people that are thinking their price is going to be as hot in the higher end as it is in the 500 or under. Well, we're seeing that's not necessarily the case, especially
look at those days on market.
Days on market. We're seeing basically above $1 million. You got to be pretty aggressive if you're going to sell that house, because it's going to sit and sit and sit. So again, most of the activity is, and actually it's funny, if you look under 200,000, that's where we go high on days on market as well, because we have people who have homes that are not worth, they're trying to take advantage of no inventory, but it's pretty tough to outsmart the market.
So Chad,
we're not going to pay that for that house that's overpriced.
I might quantify this little number, these 7 homes under 200,000. Right now, the lowest priced home in the 3 counties that is a home, a house, not a manufactured home or a condo townhouse, is 225. So those 7 homes are either a condo or a manufactured home, which is why they're sitting at those higher days.
Yeah. And obviously overpriced,
Yep.
or they wouldn't still be there.
And
such high inventory.
And a lot of properties in that price range need a lot of work. And buyers that are in that price range are on loan types that do not like homes that need work. So,
Also, a really good plug-in for your consultation. Your buyer's agent's going to be able to tell you that right up front.
Yeah, based on your loan type. So, and that's why approval is important, because if we don't know your loan type, we don't really know what to show you. So, another thing too, expectation to set with buyers, just because days on market, whether it's 10 days on market or 60 days on market, be prepared to get into a multiple offer situation, because there might be a little bit more inventory for buyers to look at depending on the month, which can cause, average days on market to go up because there's just a little bit more to look at. So buyers feel like they have a little bit more time. So that's why you need to call us now, by the way, because spring and summertime might get crazy. So call us now and shop now, where it's a little less competitive. But what happens is a buyer will find a house they like, but they have 3 more they want to look at. So they'll sit on that one and they'll call the agent and tell the agent, your agent will call the agent and tell the agent, we're just going to watch this for now. Let us know if an offer comes in. And if you do send in an offer on something that is 60 days, don't assume that you can get a deal, and trying to get a deal can actually cost you more money, because if you don't send in exactly what they're looking for, or something they feel like they can negotiate and really think about, they are going to call every other person that's looked at it and asked to watch it, and it's going to kick up dust and it's going to cause multiple offers. So trying to get a deal regardless of the days on market can actually end up costing you more money.
That always seems to happen. The stereotypical curse when you find your home at like 100 days on market, and you're like, oh, it's got 100 days on market. Obviously competition hasn't been too exciting. Then you express interest. Then all of a sudden you're fighting with 3 other offers. So don't, when your buyer's looking on Zillow or whatever app they want to use, and they see, this has been on market for 100 days. We're going to come in $100,000 less. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
They're going to use your offer as leverage to get what they want. So be very careful. Be very careful about how you're offering, and just heed your agent's advice.
All right, let's look at pendings. So we are currently sitting at about 362 pendings. Average sales price of those, $444,000. Prices are going up, people. They're continuing to rise. Average days on market, 28. As we look at Idaho Falls and look and see how that compares, we're currently 79 homes that are on the market. Absorption rate again is low. It's in the weeks, in the days, 1.5 weeks versus 2.5 weeks. So very few homes. If we look at kind of the breakdown of those homes, again, we're seeing them split. We're seeing the active that are being pretty equal, but when you look at the solds, it is definitely trending more towards the 500. We're not seeing the 39 move that much. The 40 homes, though, up here under 500,000, those are the ones that are selling. And you can just, again, look at the days on market. I mean, the lowest ones are the ones that are selling. So as we move on here, Idaho Falls currently has 241 pending, a little lower average sales price within the city, and average days on market sitting here at 23. And so overall, the market is, continue to move. I'd say we're poised for we're poised again for multiple offers. I think we're going to see prices increase as well. And things are, it does seem like construction costs are a little more controllable, whereas last year they were crazy. So we'll see how that changes. But overall, I think we're going to see a 2022 that's going to look pretty similar to 2021. And with that being said, let's get an update on the mortgages from our PRMI and hear for what Hunter has to say for us.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Chad. I don't know if there's another slide in there that you can hit next on. So as we look at an overview of Q1 2020, and this is kind of forecasting all the way up to Q4 2024, it was really interesting what COVID did to the rates. And I think it's really interesting in general what COVID did for the whole industry. And so what we saw was kind of an expedited timeline of people moving into our area. And I think it was a combination of people wanting to leave other states and rates going in so low. So you saw this in Q4 of 2020. We saw a super low rate of 2.8%. It went up a little bit to 3% and then dipped down the first or the last quarter or the Q3 of 2021 to 2.8% again. And since then, we've been on a pretty steady increase. We were at 3.1% at the end of last year and then hit this kind of 3.4, 3.5% here just recently. And like I was talking about earlier, you know, historically 3.4% is a really good rate. You know, if we're looking back at 2016 or 2015, we were sitting at about a 3.85% in 2015, a little bit lower in 2016 of 3.65. And so this 3.5% is kind of in line with, I think, where we would have been if something like the pandemic did not happen. And so, you know, like I was saying, it kind of expedited the home buying process for a lot of people because of the low rates. But this 3.5%, you know, is definitely in line. And even with that, we saw increases in home prices and the market continuing to move up. So really, there's nothing for me to say that there's going to be any slowdown in the market. I think we're just getting back to where we were. You know, would I say 30% increase? I mean, that's a pretty dramatic increase. And I think that was largely due to the low interest rates, but getting back up to the 3.4, 3.5%, I think we're going to see more of a healthy increase, maybe, you know, 10, 20%, which is still incredibly high. So that's kind of what we have on our radar. Now, this is
so Hunter, this graph is super interesting in the fact that we saw our heaviest time of those crazy multiple offers from Q4 to Q2 of 2020 to 2021. That was the crazy time. And that was where that rates were really low.
Yeah.
Was that really a factor, or did it happen anyway? Very interesting to see that line right up with our busiest time that we've ever had in real estate.
Yeah. And I completely agree. I mean, it was busy. And so I think if there was any question maybe someone had about moving into our area or about moving, you know, in general, these rates definitely were a huge driver for a lot of that activity. So,
and just for clarification, I think on Q3, the last two where it's 3.8 and 4%, it's probably 2022 instead of 2023 and 2024, right?
Yes. Well,
it's kind of a year-end overview, or are you guys extending out?
Based off of Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae data, you know, I think
2 years out, we're solid.
2 years out is where we can maybe reach back up to this 4% again. And it's largely due to, you know, what happens with the pandemic and things like that. But, you know, I think we're pretty safe to say that we're going to kind of hover mid threes. You know, we might go up, but then again, you know, we're only going up from where we saw the all-time lows hit during the pandemic, which, you know, they love these numbers, you know, and I do too. I mean, it's super low numbers and we've kind of been accustomed to sub-3 pricing. But if you look at it historically, you know, the last 5 years, we had some all-time low rates that were, you know, in the high threes and in the mid threes. So 3.5%, still a great rate, still a great monthly payment, still affordable for a lot of people.
So I have a question about, I have a lot of buyers who say, you know, what goes up must come down. And this is starting the correction. Just based on actual facts and figures, which is what we like to use instead of speculation and feelings, do we see anything indicating a crash? That's an actual figure, that's an actual fact. Is there anything that's similar leading up to the huge crash that we're, you know, in 2008? Is there anything concrete and solid besides people saying, what goes up must come down, that is going to lead for a crash that people are like, I'm just going to wait for a crash?
Yeah, you know, it's a great question. I think a lot of people, you know, that were kind of around for the subprime mortgage hit, you know, prior to 08 or after 08, they're kind of feeling the same kind of things going on in the market, but really the mortgage industry is is so much more secure as a whole. The financial industry is so much more secure that, I go through it all day long about, asking people for documentation, making sure their income can meet the criteria of the mortgage they're trying to take out, making sure they're not overextending themselves with second homes and things like that in areas that, they probably couldn't afford. And so what was happening was people were just getting too overextended. And, we really aren't able to do that anymore just because of the guidelines that are so strict set by Fannie, Freddie, and the government, FHA programs. So, to me, it would be hard for me to make sense of anything like that happening again, just because they did take a lot of precaution to, put things in place to make sure that that didn't happen again. And so based off of where we're at in the market on the real estate side, inventory is still at an all-time low. I mean, you're seeing that. I mean, it's a matter of weeks that things would be gone if people didn't put their homes on the market. So, I mean, there's really no signs and levers that are telling me personally that things are going to slow down or crash or correct or anything like that. I think if anything, you might see it stabilize, but really, even that I don't think is going to happen just based off of kind of how things have felt the beginning of this year. I think we're going to have a lot of high offer situations and things like that. So
visiting my part now. So just a little update on our community impact arm of our little team, the Nosy Neighbors, and we visited at some really cool places in December. The Black Swan Inn, Universal Flooring. Chad went out and burned some trees. I think Jeremy, you were out there too, burning a few Christmas trees with Serve Pro. Christie's Keepsakes and Habitat for Humanity and their Restore. It was a really fun month to see some really cool stuff in December with Nosy Neighbors. And we've got some really fun ones coming up as well. We've got Mountain River Ivy Health and Wellness, the Live to Lead seminar, which is a John Maxwell seminar that's coming to Idaho Falls, Greenhouse Coffee, Intuitive Roots Healing, which was a really neat thing that has some really cool telehealth aspects to it. We visited IF Signs, and we've got a few more left to schedule. So it's going to be a great month. Go out and visit these amazing local businesses and watch their videos. And it's some really cool people live here in Idaho Falls, and we've got some really cool places to go. And Chad, I think that's the stats.